been a huge proponent of this on Tasty Trades Network, in their Learn Center, all over the place with the idea of realistic expectations. And it's one of those things that honestly, like, I think Tasty Trade helped invent for the everyday trader, for the individual investor, because prior to 5-10 years ago, I think people were just buying and selling stuff and having no course of like, what should I get out of this? Like, when should I get out for a profit? When should I get out for a loss? When I do something as simple as like buy my Apple stock. And what we're on the forefront of here, Katie, is bringing this idea to a very new and young crypto market. It's super important, right?
Agreed. I mean, and that's the question that just constantly comes up from a Twitter perspective, a support perspective, is there's so much guesswork that needs to take place when you're learning about new products and you have no idea like what is actually, a manageable or accurate profit and loss target. So again, I love this conversation today because it is still the most commonly asked question I get anytime I post a trade on Twitter is, what are you looking to get out of this? Or what's going to be your exit point if you're feeling pain? So the more context or rules of thumb that we can give people, the less barrier there is to entry, like to get these people to trade, right? So yeah, I'm fully with you that we're not all like, behind some curtain and we have the secret sauce that nobody else like knows about. Like we're really here to try to share all of that information with you all so that you can become a more mechanical trader, a maybe less emotional trader.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you bring up that last piece because like you look at this chart and there's no amount of data that I can put behind the movement in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin specifically that we're looking at to confidently tell you where this market is likely to stay inside of in the next 24 hours even. I made this chart last night and it's not taking into account the 10% rise Bitcoin is having today. And so like, we're going to do our darndest here. But when you've got a market that's gone from essentially 0 to 60,000 and then back to 30,000, splitting the difference between 0 and 60,000. And now it's looking like it wants to hit those highs again. We're going to do our best and put as much data as we can behind this. But when you see this and you don't have realistic expectations, whether you're on the buy side or the sell side of a market like this, or you're Katie McGarrigle, who is pretty much indifferent to being on the buy or sell side of a market, you just want to profit from active trading. The daunting task of setting those realistic expectations can keep you it's kept us out of the market until now, right?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
It's unbelievable when you take a step back and just look at the last year's worth of trading. And this is where I understand you and Pete Mulmat and, just the experienced futures heads at Tasty Trade, where it's like, I'm not trading it, not because I don't like crypto or I have any opinion. It's more like, I don't know what the heck to do with the thing. So what do we do first? The first thing we do is we get small. Like this is really the key to every one of our strategies, every learning process, every risk management idea comes back to getting small. And you have here, Katie, a product that's right now at around $3,000, just like 100 shares of a $30 stock, margins at $700. And you can feel comfortable knowing that a 10% rise in this market or a 10% fall is only going to be a few $100. Like it's still a good amount, but like it's nothing like some of the Bitcoin futures out there or the cash markets that can really end an account in a day's worth of action. Small crypto is a good start to at least getting smaller before getting any trading done.
For sure. And I love this example because anybody that's seen like the other types of trades that I do when it comes to either futures options or, options on individual names like Amazon or Roku or what have you, everybody that has seen those trades knows that my risk tolerance, I typically like to do like $1,000 spread width if I'm talking iron condor or vertical spread. So maybe I'm collecting 1/3 that. So hopefully collecting around $350. The most I'm going to lose is like $650 for that defined risk trade. So this really translates well into that level of risk tolerance that I tend to have for the rest of my trades.
That's exactly right. Like I was absolutely not blowing smoke when I said Katie is a huge influence on what I do and what the exchange at large does, because we saw active traders like Katie who've got account sizes of, anywhere between a few thousand to a few tens of thousands of dollars,
Right.
something that's good, but nothing that's like, you have some of these traders like Big Boy Tom, who's obviously got enough.
Sosnofian.
Yeah, who's got enough money to back up, a $5,000 loss. We don't have that. And so what we
Right.
did with all of our futures across the board is like, let's give the people something that presents a couple $100 of opportunity. We feel like that's a good middle ground here. And that's what we did with SCCX, is like something that on any given day you can make or lose $50, $100, and it would take a real big outlier for you to get. I mean, this product would have to go to zero for you to be on the buy side and lose thousands of dollars here. So getting smaller is a good start, but then the data really comes in. And in front of you here, I've got the standard deviation fresh off the presses. The first time we've integrated the new SCCX futures into the community members newsletter. And the standard deviation is a great first start, right, Katie? And just understand, like, because your whole thing and my whole thing is like, I'll trade it. Like, I love price action. I love big moves, but what's it capable of? Because if you told me yesterday it's capable of a 2 or 3% move, and then I go in today and I sell 3% and it moves up 10%, then I'm pretty pissed off. But you look at these standard deviations and the facts are the facts, the data is the data, and it tells you that you got a 1 SD of $1, 2 of about $2. And then those outlier moves are out there at $3, which is $300 notionally. And standard deviations, this is where every scalper starts, where every active trader starts, right, Katie?
Oh yeah. I mean, and again, this is like totally not something that I claim to be an expert in by any means, but just knowing ahead of time. And as we started at the top of the show, SCCX was closer to up like 96 cents. Okay, how does that fit? And now it's only up 82 cents. How does that fit with what we're kind of seeing today with this standard deviation newsletter that you guys just shared?
Absolutely right. And I'm glad that you pointed out today is a great example. And I'm glad, hopefully we'll get a couple minutes in the platform before you've said enough of you, Frank, and you move on with the rest of your day here, because today is a good example of like, it's a big out, like today's taking a lot of people off guard in the crypto move. It's like, wow, Bitcoin's up $3,000. Like that's a lot. But if I told you that the standard deviation on Bitcoin is about $2,500, it's like, yeah, it's a lot, but it's, 1 to 2 standard deviations. So a rare
Right.
move, but not something that should catch you off guard. And the same with small crypto. It's like, it was up over $1. And if you have the standard deviations in your back pocket, like, okay, this is a pretty big move, but since I know that $1 is the 1 SD, I didn't go in there and sell up 50 cents. Because that's when you get really frustrated, is like, if I don't have the realistic expectations, then I'm buying and selling too soon, or I'm waiting too long and I'm never getting any trades on. And the standard deviation is the root of everything. Like, it's the root of implied volatility, realized volatility. It's the root of our forecasting that we do when we say on every Monday, like, this is where Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the market is expected to be inside of. And you can tell with the rally yesterday and today, SCCX is already above that forecast. And so that's,
For sure.
It's a matter of setting up expectations, Katie, but also kind of letting you know, hey, there's an opportunity there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's the thing, is that there's never going to be, you're not going to hit a home run every single time. And just the fact that, you can use this 5-day forecast and say, okay, SCCX is trading for 30.38. That's greater than what was projected based on the moves that we're seeing and experiencing this week. That might signal an opportunity. You're absolutely right. It's all about putting all of the pieces together to find opportunities, but also, again, find them in a way that's not going to leave you hurting or taking up your whole account within like one trade.
Yeah, the worst is like if we were to launch a product or just the way crypto has been until now, which is like, get in there, it's new and it's fun. And it's like, oh, okay, like I sold it when it was up $100. Was that good? And it's like, no, it moves thousands of dollars. And so like the worst would be like if we didn't give you this data or anything and you know, buy or sell the market when it's at an inside day and then it gets to an outside day and it's like, well, I wasn't ready for this. And so with the small product, with the numbers and the data and everything behind it, hopefully you can create both realistic expectations and a first go at crypto that's just not so daunting. It's like you want to find a way to try out this new thing without like completely endangering your account. And we feel like we've gotten you to a pretty decent place. So let's bring up the platform and just take a look. We don't need to get anything done here today, but just take a look at where the market is and what we've seen today and what we can look to do in the future. You've got a market here in small crypto, like Katie said, was up about $1 as recent as call it an hour ago, and now has come back a little bit. And that presents both like, okay, what Frank and Katie just showed me in terms of the standard deviations and what's to be expected, it holds. And also now I know where to jump on the opportunity, right? Like from a contrarian scalping point of view, what do you look at when a market, like you've been great with metals in this, where you've been patient with gold and silver. When they fall, you don't just immediately buy. You wait until they get down, you know, a standard deviation, they get to an outlier move, and then you look to buy it and sell it back higher on the bounce. What are you looking at when you see SECX has $1 standard deviation? Earlier today, it's up almost $1.25. What's your next move there?
That's a really great question. I mean, and even now it's pulled back another 20 cents since like just 5 minutes ago. So in times like these, and again, with new products, I definitely like to, you know, get a lay of the land. I also love that the platform tells you a little bit more about what components are in this product, because of course these are curated by the small exchange. So, you know, if I was in a more trade heavy universe at the moment, right? Like maybe I did have something on in COIN or in Riot. I would be double, triple checking to see what my current exposure is to this particular asset class of cryptocurrencies. And then from there, yeah, absolutely. Just, I mean, of course, the biggest piece is pushing confirm and send, right? And getting into the game. But then after that, based on the ranges that we're seeing, I would feel comfortable with, hey, I'd love to, you know, make at least $150 on this, especially because I'm typically not like day trading them. I'm more like swing trading them, I think is the more correct term, where you're holding them for a couple days more than just a day. So I typically with these products, I'm like, okay, do I see a price extreme? Of course, we're seeing that right now, even though we have seen a little bit of a pullback in the last 30 minutes. But then after that, okay, what's my comfortability with what I want to make on this position, and where would I anticipate exiting if things aren't working out so hot in my favor? And then you go right back to the drawing board and you say, okay, well, maybe I wasn't directionally right this first time, but like, what's a new entry point that I can consider that might help me chip away if I did experience pain? Or, I mean, on the flip side of that, you know, hey, that worked out really, really well. All right, what's my next move if I want to take the opposite side?
I love that walkthrough. Nailed all the different pieces. First of which is, you know, before you even trade or anything like that, getting just more comfortable. And thankfully, the Tastyworks platform has put this in as of, I think, yesterday. We had some viewers ask for it. And so we asked good friend Paul, you know, Paul Kopchak, a great guy. And he put this list in there for us. And so you've got all the components here, two of which are Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then 15 stocks in the sector, and you can see how they're moving, and you can get a feel for like, okay, this is an equity index future that holds some Bitcoin and holds some ETH and has a bunch of other stocks. And I'm maybe feeling a little bit more comfortable if I've traded NASDAQ or I've traded S&Ps or I've traded small stocks or I've traded small technology. I'm in relatively the same boat. And yeah, to your point, the next thing is like, okay, are we seeing a price extreme? Yeah, it's about 20, 30 cents off of the highs. But given the day in Bitcoin and the forecast that we looked at, it's still, you know, at a pretty upside extreme. And so then if I look at selling this market, here. Nice, right now, 1 penny wide. I could get short the 30/25s. And then the next step is like, all right, what am I doing now? It's outside of the forecasted range. I think the high was like 29 and a half. I'm selling the 30/25s. As my first trade in here, maybe I'm looking to make 10, $20. And so that would mean selling this 30/25 and looking to manage, at a price that is, 10, 20 cents higher or lower when the market moves for or against me. And that's really the end of it, is just making sure that you don't have anything catch you by surprise. You have your mechanics going in, and you can get a first trade going there with a new product and a new asset class without feeling overwhelmed. Because that's the worst thing, is like, I got this new trade on, or I got this new market that I'm trying out, and it's too big, or I don't understand the tick sizes, or I don't understand anything like that. And last piece actually here is to your point of like pairs trading and stuff like that. I actually talked with Jamal yesterday about the fact that crypto, and you're seeing it today, crypto and tech stocks they only have a correlation of like positive 0.3. And so not something I necessarily want to spread off against, but your next route, if you wanted to pairs trade this thing and not just be outright short, would be like, I can look at, maybe the MBT future, or I can look at,
Right.
though the correlation isn't super dense, the fact that tech stocks are actually down on the day and cryptos are up is like, even for just a 0.3 correlation, it's like, wow, that's kind of wacky. So you can then start to look at spreading stuff off and get interesting from there. But it really just starts with like trying your first contract out, putting some mechanics around it, getting your feet wet, and then making or losing 5, 10, $20. And thankfully, the smallest contracts allow you to do that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, I just got in with you. I sold SCCX at 30.24, so you got 1 penny on me. But yeah, I'm really excited to get my feet wet in here, and maybe we will see a pullback in this product over the next couple of days.
Awesome. Look at that. Katie McGarrett,
Yeah.
her first
Wasn't that
crypto
easy?
trading done on it is crazy though. Like pressing that confirm and send button is huge. Like no matter how small the product is or how comfortable can make you feel, it's like, man, it's futures, and maybe you're not, super into futures, or you're not super comfortable in that space. So it's like, it's different, and anything that's different is just hard to pick up. So good for you, Katie.
Yeah.
And I always tell
Thank you.
people, like, if you sell those 30/24s and you just want to like buy them back for a scratch or a $2 loss or a $3 loss or what have you, and move on, like that's a great first step too. Like I do that with every market, right? Like options, futures, the first trade is always like, I put it on and then I take it off for a small winner or a small loser, right?
Exactly. And I mean, I just like want to disclaim, like, of course, I just did this on the show with you as you kind of did the same thing, but like it took me a long time to get here, right? Like where I felt confident enough to like not double, triple, quadruple guess myself, so to speak. So, it's okay if you want to look at the product for a couple of days and see how it moves and how it behaves and check on your other positions. This, of course, you have to have skin in the game to get something out of the game. But, everybody's on their own timeline, I think.
Yes. Amazing. That's an amazing way to close today's shot. I love it. You were one word off of a phrase that I use too often in the office, which is like, everyone's on their own trip, man. I'll get into like arguments and different stuff. And the way that I'll always close it is like, all right, we're all on our own trip. We'll figure it out. But yeah, it takes everybody different amounts of time. I mean, crypto is a perfect example of this in the trading industry. It's just like some people were day one. They were there ready to trade it back and forth. Some people are today, and some people will be months from now. And that's totally fine. You're all on your own trip. And Katie, thank you so much for joining this trip, but you have many other trips to take. You're a very busy woman. So good luck to you and your rest of the day. Thanks so much for joining us here on Small Stakes. It's been a ball. Hopefully you had fun.
I had a great time. I'm looking forward to doing this every Wednesday. As I said to you, privately, I'm really ready to ramp back up my futures trading game. And what better way than to have, as Liz and Jenny say, a futures trading buddy.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. We're gonna all be your buddies here, Katie, and it's gonna be a real fun time. We're glad to call you a buddy here on the Small Stakes program. But I must move on to the Splash into Futures program with an old pal of both of ours, Pete Momat. Plenty of trading to do here on a weird Wednesday afternoon. Very weird Wednesday. A lot of action. Nothing really like extreme, Katie, but just like a lot of just weird price action. So we're going to dive into all of it and get some trades going. Katie, thanks as always. And thanks everybody for watching Small Stakes. We'll see you tomorrow.